In today's Script Study Spectacular, we're covering Scream 1996. Anyways, today we're covering the slasher movie that changed the genre forever. A classic whodunit mystery with some masterfully crafted red herrings and an incredibly iconic cast. But on the page, we get a very different story. The script was written by Kevin Williamson, originally titled Scary Movie, which would of course later be the title of the film parodying this. This is the earliest version of the script that you can find online via the Internet Archive, and it is a stark contrast to the movie, with massive character changes and a completely different ending. Welcome to the Script Study Spectacular, where we see how key moments were written, go over any major changes, and analyze the film's themes. Okay, let's see how Kevin Williamson wrote a story about a mass killer killing teenagers and turn it into a cultural phenomenon. I'm not falling for this! The film begins with a cold open after a very intense title card. A cold open is a scene intended to hook the audience right away, while also establishing some of the film's basic concepts. Here we meet Casey, your average teenage girl. Average if you grew up rich in California. She answers the phone, and we hear that now iconic voice changer.
Who is this?
Interestingly enough, the script does not describe the voice. The dialogue here is great. You're put off by the voice's urge to continue the conversation. The film's most iconic line was in the story from the very beginning.
What's your favorite scary movie?
The voice's flirtatious vibe turns murderous, and the horror begins. Her boyfriend is revealed to be tied to a chair outside, raising the stakes even more to feel like a climax. Casey answers a trivia question wrong and watches her boyfriend die in front of her. A chase begins around the house, revealing our killer. Casey's parents arrive home just in time to see Ghostface's decorating skills. Exterior front door. The father rushes out the door to find his wife, on her knees, bent over, retching. His eyes move beyond to the tree in the front yard. His stomach fails him. His dinner rises as he bears witness to the single most horrifying sight he'll ever see. That of his only daughter, as she hangs from a big oak tree, strung up, very much dead, her stomach ripped open. This cold open makes it clear to the audience that this is a story written for horror fans. It knows how you think. You thought Casey was our leading lady, when she's really just a pawn to kick off the story. On to the real protagonist of the film, Sydney Prescott. She gets spooked by her boyfriend crawling inside through the window. Billy Loomis, a young, strapping boy of 17, handsome and alluring. He sports a smile that could last for days. An interesting missing detail here is the lack of cuts on Billy's wrists. A worthy omission since his jump scare entrance is enough to set off alarm bells in the audience. Billy wants to get freaky, but Sid isn't ready, so he leaves with a parting gift of a nipple. The next day we see Bayboro High School in North Carolina, currently surrounded by reporters. Included in the bunch is Gale Weathers. Gale Weathers, 30s. Her smart face is overshadowed by a flashy smile and a massive mane of chemically enhanced hair. Sydney walks to class when she meets up with her best friend, Tatum. Tatum Riley, same age, feisty, carefree. She speaks in a way that is not only accurate for teens at the time, but once again making it clear to the audience that this movie is meta.
And we're not just talking killed, we're talking splattered movie killed. Ripped open from end to end.
Sid is pulled out of class to talk to the cops, where we are introduced to Dewey. A young officer looks at a clipboard. This is Deputy Riley, better known as Dewey. He's a big guy, 20s, handsome, in a scrubbed, clean, boyish way. In this scene, we are also introduced to the subplot of Sid's mom. The cops are aware of Sid and her family due to something that happened to her. The cops interview her before we cut to the courtyard. We meet the last two members of this friend group, Stu and Randy. Next to Tatum sits her boyfriend, Stuart, with his arm draped around her back. He's a half jock, half jokester. Across the table is the fifth wheel, Randy, a tall and gangly kid, no jock, all jokester. They chat as teens do, but not like they do in the script. So many great moments and jokes are not present on the page and are only on the screen. These little moments are what lifts these characters beyond your standard scary movie affair and turn them into a lovable, odd group of friends. Here's just one example. This line is said by Randy in the script, but Stu in the film, and everything after is not there at all.
Never alone. Ow, liver. It was a joke.
There's a cut scene after this with Sid's dad as he leaves for his business trip. Sid is upset that he's leaving right when these murders seem to open up some wounds from their own past. It makes Sid's dad more of a real character rather than just a talked about possible suspect throughout the film. As soon as it's all over, he's in the car now. He refuses to look his daughter straight on. Refuses to let her see how troubled he is. I think it's time we get on with things. I gotta run now. Yeah, you do that. Mr. Prescott shuts the car door on a very strained relationship. Then he starts the car up and backs out of the driveway, leaving his only daughter standing, very much alone. At home, Sid talks to Tatum on the phone, and they make plans to meet up later that night. Sid watches TV, and we learn from Gail Weathers what happened to Sid's mom and why these recent killings seem to daunt her spirit. Sid falls asleep and wakes up to the phone ringing.
It won't stop. They're more persistent than the IRS.
She answers it, and it's Tatum. Great fake out. She says she'll be there soon to pick Sid up, and the call ends, only for the phone to ring again right after. She answers, and it's Ghostface. Script Ghostface makes it clear right away that he knows he's talking to Sid, but the film waits to reveal that once he brings up her mom.
Bye now.
If you hang up on me, you'll die just like your mother.
A much more powerful reveal. Sid outright calls horror movies sexist before explaining why she doesn't like them. Another reason she probably doesn't care for them is because of the real-life horror she has experienced. The meta-commentary throughout the film touches on the topic of fiction mirroring reality. Fabricated horrors versus real horrors. They exist in two separate realities, yet are real all the same. They feed off and inspire each other. Ghostface eventually makes his presence known to Sid, and a chase begins. Lucky for Sid, though, she is not your typical teenage girl, and is able to fight her way off to safety and notify the police. Once again from the window, Billy shows up. Interesting. If that isn't suspicious enough, he drops a cell phone, scaring Sid away to the front door. Having Dewey hold up the mask is perfect, setting up two suspects in a short time. The script adds Tatum into the mix too, with her showing up outside the house as police arrest Billy under suspicion of his involvement. On the screen, you never suspect Tatum to be the killer. Gail shows up with her cameraman Kenny, but is too late to get a word from Sid. At the police station, they can't seem to get a hold of Sid's dad, marking him missing and a suspect. The cops interview Billy, who proclaims his innocence, saying the phone was his dad's. Mr. Loomis goes to his son's defense. Are you telling me Billy was the first iPad kid? What is there to mess around on with a 90s cell phone? They say that they'll rule him out once they check his phone records, and only in the script, perform a blood test to see if it matches with blood found under Casey's fingernails. The script also shows Billy as more emotional, and we're gonna have to keep you. The governor's got SBI, FBI, and God knows who else on their way down here. Billy fights tears. This is crazy. I didn't do it. Sheriff Burke eyes him up and down, very carefully. Outside, Dewey leads Tatum and Sid and leaves them to get the car. Gail shows up, taking up the opportunity to question Sid. Gail wrote a book about Sid's mom's murder and believes that Sid was wrong when testifying, which resulted in the wrongful conviction of Cotton Weary for her mom's death. Gail is interested in these new killings as they would make a great sequel book. Sid dislikes Gail for glorifying her mother's death, so the conversation is tense and ends with this. In a blurred, unexpected instant, Sydney brings her fist forward, smashing it hard into Gail Weathers' face. The impact sends Gail reeling backwards, knocking into Kenny as they both tumble to the pavement. On Sydney, breathing deep, a sense of satisfaction on her face.
I'll send you a copy.
Oh, jeez. Nice shot.
Sid spends the night at Tatum's. All is well until Mama Tatum says there's a call for Sid. On the line is, of course, Ghostface, seemingly ruling Billy out as a suspect. Dewey doesn't show up until the call is over, raising the suspicion onto him. The next morning in the kitchen, Dewey tells Sid that Billy was released since his phone record was clean and the blood didn't match. Dewey takes the kids to school and says this.
Don't worry, Sid, it's school. You'll be safe here.
The accidental irony in that line is really depressing. Don't you just love it here? Gail shows up not soon after, and surprisingly, Sid wants to talk to her. She apologizes for the punch and just wants to ask her why write a book about her mother.
Your mother's murder was last year's hottest court case. Somebody was going to write a book about it.
This raises the topic of how the media covers crimes, turning them into revenue streams with no real empathy for the living victims. This conversation reveals Sid is paranoid that her mother's killer may still be on the loose. Kenny secretly records this conversation without Sid's knowledge, a detail that in the end becomes clear. Inside the school, students run around in ghost face masks, keeping Sid on edge, pointing out an overall lack of empathy in a world desensitized to violence due to the media they take in. We even see that it is the media's fault that they know about the Ghostface mask. Sid and Tatum encounter Stu and Billy. Some punk kid dressed as Ghostface mocks the killings, much to Sid's chagrin. Billy takes the opportunity to prove himself to her and attacks the kid. Sid dips out during this into the empty hallway. A Ghostface stands ominously, causing her to run smack into Billy again. They talk, and Sid says that while she does believe him to be innocent, she's having a hard time reprocessing her mother's death. You gotta let that go, Sid. Your mom's not coming back, but I'm here, and I'd never hurt you. I love you. This pierces Sydney. Billy reaches for her. She recoils instantly. Billy throws his hands up in the air, beaten. Even if he is innocent of the killings, he is guilty of being a bad boyfriend. Sid heads into the bathroom to recoup. She hears some brats talking smack about her and waits for them to leave to belittle herself. Surprise! Ghostface also had to powder his nose and scares her. She gets away with ease, and we see Principal Himbry scowl to students for dressing as Ghostface. Himbry is later murdered in the film, a scene completely missing in the script for reasons we'll talk about later. Back at the courtyard during lunch in the script, while the film has this moment take place in a video store. It's a meta movie about horror fans in the 90s, it just makes sense to have a scene take place here. Randy and Stu discuss Bill's possible innocence. This detail is new to these characters. Did he look guilty? How the fuck would I know? You're his best friend, you've known him since kindergarten. Randy believes Billy is still the most likely suspect, even after being cleared by police. Stu argues that it could be Randy himself. In the film, they bump into Billy, giving us a glimpse into Stu and Billy's maniacally charged chemistry. Outside the school, Dewey is on patrol when Gail approaches him. She flirts with him in order to get information about the killings. Their entire romantic subplot, for the most part, is not in the script, so it just reads as Dewey being into Gail, who is simply manipulating him. On a different part of the school's campus, Sid and Tatum talk about how Gail may have been right about Sid's mom, and that the real killer may still be out there. She still wonders about certain details, however.
If they were having an affair, then how come Cotton couldn't prove it in court? Well, you can't prove a rumor, that's why it's a rumor.
Created by media propaganda. The script focuses a lot more on critiquing the media as a whole, the news, and movies. Stu and Randy show up and tell them that school is canceled due to the killings and the students' poor reaction to them. Stu announces a party at his place. Well, in the film, it's a party, but in the script, sorry Sid, nothing big, just us hanging, watching some videos. The scene ends with the reveal that Kenny was eavesdropping on the conversation, another detail building up to the final reveal. You'll notice that a lot of these scenes in the middle are swapped around in the film. It certainly flows much better and feels natural, rather than just cutting to different characters having a conversation somewhere around the school. Dewey meets with the sheriff and they discuss their plans going forward, with Dewey keeping a close eye on Sid. The film has this insert shot of the sheriff putting out a cigarette, only here so you notice his black boots are similar to the ones Ghostface wears, making him another suspect. In a supermarket, Sid and Tatum discuss Sid's intimacy problems with Billy. But oh, who's that? Man, this guy's everywhere. The next time we see Ghostface in a store, he's stabbing locals and shooting up the place. But here he's just stalking, a misdemeanor at best. On to our final location in the film, Stu's house, a now iconic landmark in the franchise. It sits alone in a clearing, big and ominous with no neighbors in sight. A huge old home, just ripe for a night of terror. Like Randy mentioned earlier, there's no party in the script, it's just the four of them for now. Gail and Kenny pull up in their news van and plan to put a camera somewhere in the house to monitor the kids. As she leaves the van, Dewey surprises her. They decide to go into the house together to check on the party. Gail is able to put the camera on the TV, a placement that seems stupid because people would be essentially staring right at it the whole night. But that's what makes it a perfect spot. People are too focused on the screen to notice they are being monitored. Meanwhile, Tatum goes out to the garage to get some beers for everyone when a familiar face shows up. She thinks it's Stu or Randy messing with her, so she taunts the guy. Once it becomes clear that he's not interested in roleplay, Tatum heads to the pet door to make an escape. A true fighter, Tatum kicks hard, making direct contact with the figure, knocking him away. She takes the moment to pull herself through further, but she stops, stuck. She pulls and tugs, but can't move. She listens, but hears nothing. Where did he go? An agonizing silence. And then... The garage door is activated. It moves to rise upward, taking Tatum with it. She screams madly, "No!" Tatum's arms and legs fly about violently as she tries to free herself from the door, but it moves too fast, carrying her up. She looks above to see where the door rolls back into the garage rafters, just as her neck hits the first beam, snapping instantly. Back in the house, Gail and Dewey leave just as Billy arrives. Sid takes Billy to the kitchen to talk, where they see Randy exit from the garage with a beer, which seemingly confirms him to be the killer, so I see why this was cut. Randy sits with Stu in the living room, starting their own movie marathon as Sid and Billy make amends and things get hot and heavy upstairs. Not so fast, Buster. The script makes it clear that we do not see Sid in her birthday suit, and the film complies. A fun misdirect. Billy compares life to movies, claiming they are one and the same. What is the extent of life's relationship with media? Is it a balance, a yin-yang, a Venn diagram? Or is Billy right, and it's simply a circle? Outside, Dewey asks Gail if she wants to join him as he investigates a mysterious car parked down the road. In the film, this is when the other students at the party hear of the principal's death. His body was hung up from the goalposts, and they all want to have a glimpse, so they jump ship. Basically, the principal's death is just a way to get the students to leave the party, leaving us with our core cast of characters. Gail and Dewey find the car, and it's Mr. Prescott's. They start their way back to the house in a hurry. Post-coital conversation takes place upstairs, and Sid makes a remark that alludes to her still being suspicious of Billy. Billy asks whatever he can do to prove he's not Ghostface. Well, Billy, I've never seen you and Ghostface in the same room together. Oh, well, there we go. Ghostface stabs Billy a few times before gaining sights on his next target, Sydney, who stands numb, scared to death, and only when the ghost takes a step forward does Sid break. She takes off like a rocket, leaping over the bed and out the door. She's able to escape after locking herself in a storage room. This extended chase sequence before the killer reveal has a ton of little differences. Nothing major, but like the scene swapping from earlier, the film flows much better because of them. One example is Kenny's death. The film has it happen after Sid runs to the van to get away from Ghostface. In the script, he's alone, and it's very bare bones. The film has this seamlessly lead into this cat and mouse sequence with Sid and Ghostface. Anyways, let's speed through this. Sid encounters Ghostface on the balcony and falls to the ground. Gail and Dewey return to the house. Dewey goes inside as Gail goes to the van. Blood windshield scares her, accompanied by an equally freaked out Randy. Sid shows up, looking like Carrie, which causes her to crash the car in the ditch. She goes to Dewey's Jeep and turns on the headlights to reveal Dewey in the doorway of the house. He stumbles down to reveal he has been stabbed. But by who? My money's on that guy. Sid has a tense moment around the car with Ghostface. He sneaks his way inside and they have a scuffle. Sid is able to get away, and she makes a choice to go for Dewey's gun and car keys after Ghostface disappears. Once armed, Randy and Stu show up and plead their innocence while claiming the other is the killer. This is what Sid has to say about all this.
You both!
Inside, the phone rings. Ghostface orders Sid to open the door as she hears Randy scream from outside. Shockingly, Billy moses his way down the stairs and tells Sid to give him the gun so they can leave. Sid does so, and Billy opens the door to Randy. Instead of quoting Psycho and shooting Randy in the shoulder,
We all go a little mad sometimes.
No, Billy!
he gives a cheesy one-liner and point-blank shoots Randy in the face. Our first killer revealed. Billy turns to Sid, who stands only feet away, face aghast. No, this can't be happening. Billy's eyes are on her, unmoving. He brings his bloody hand up to his mouth, deliberately licking it, tasting the blood. Corn syrup, same stuff they use for pig's blood in Carrie. Sydney is dumbfounded. Slowly, she takes a step back, moving into the dark refines of the kitchen. Billy lurks forward in a fake-out, baiting her. She takes another step back, petrified, close on Billy's face. It is no longer familiar to Sydney. There is something inhuman now about his features. His expression is pure evil. She takes another step back, shrinking into the dark kitchen. The camera takes a moment to adjust to the darkness as the outline of a figure appears, standing right behind Sydney. She continues to back up, moving right into the arms of Stu. Sydney spins around, her mouth open in speechless horror.
Stu, please, help me.
Stu stares back at her, eyes wide, lips in a subtle smile, as he holds a small, compact cellular phone up to his face. Surprise, Sydney. His voice comes to her from the phone she still holds in her hands. It sounds affected now, the voice of the killer. Sydney looks back to Billy, then to Stu, then to Billy again. She drops the phone as it becomes all too clear. She stands between them, her mind racing, calculating. This interaction in the film takes place in the kitchen, but the script it's in the living room, for a very specific reason. Stu brings out Sid's dad, and they go over their motive. Stu and Billy killed Sid's mom 1 year earlier, purely because they watched too many horror movies. None of that Sid's mom had an affair with Billy's dad nonsense. No, these two are just crazy. Stu and Billy plan on framing Sid's dad for the murders, and plan on being the only two survivors. They stab each other so they don't come out suspiciously unscathed. A moment much more brutal on film. After they've given themselves enough superficial wounds, they go for the kill on Sid's dad. Except, oh god, they've lost the gun. You need that if you're gonna shoot somebody. An off-screen voice reveals its location, in Gale Weathers' hands. Gale exclaims her version of the film's ending. Billy lunges at Gale, but she holds steady. Billy and Stu eye each other. She can't get us both. Odds are she'll miss anyway. In a mad rush, they storm Gale, heading straight at her. She stands unflinching, firing 2 shots. They both drop to the floor, their bodies piled on top of one another, face up. Sid and Gale stand over their bodies. Sid asks for the gun so she can shoot them in the head, knowing the rules of horror movies. She offs Stu before getting to Billy. She shoots him in the forehead, a clean and perfect shot, then aims the barrel at Billy's, whose eyes blink up at her, blood bubbling from his lips. He's not yet dead. Their eyes lock. And this, Billy Studbucket, is for having an incredibly small weenie. Dewey stumbles in the house, surviving his encounter with Ghostface. Sid begins to untie her dad when Gale stops her and grabs the hidden camera from the TV, revealing what all the snooping around has been about between her and Kenny. I want a close-up of this. Sydney stares at her in disbelief. A numbness overcomes her as a dark revelation sets in. This is all a movie, isn't it? If we play our cards right. No, But she stops herself. She doesn't know what she means. A long moment, and then she looks at Gale resigned. Should I turn his face to the camera? Please. Sydney positions her father just so. Then she removes his gag to find him sobbing. Sydney embraces him, holding him tight as sirens sound in the distance, her face unflinching. Shh, it's okay, Dad. It's all over. The movie's over. Gale peeks out from behind the camera. Until the sequel, Sydney looks up, her eyes frozen in horror. Blackout.
That's it? That's the movie we almost got? No Stu getting killed by the TV, no Sid outsmarting the killers, and no Randy surviving? This would have been a much different film. It feels elevated from the traditional slasher flick, with a bigger emphasis on its themes, but it lacks the character and charm that the film captures. It brings the already poignant meta aspects of the film to a trippy conclusion, with the characters themselves realizing they are in a movie. Whoa. And of course, the characters that are now iconic are very different on the page. Sid still comes off as a fighter, but there's less direct mortal combat with her and the killers. Stu and Billy are pure sociopaths, it seems, and we're missing that gay energy.
They were lovers.
But the character who has the most differences is, of course, Gale Weathers. She is simply a manipulative, greedy reporter whose lust for a good story has made her desensitized to real-life horrors. And having our two killers get killed in blasé, casual gunshots? With all that, I'd say it's very good that there is a massive script overhaul. I will leave you with the questions raised by the film. Does media affect us on a deeper way than we think? Does exposure to fictional sex and violence impact the real life? And the question that Billy raised, are movies and life one and the same? I hope it's Matthew Lillard.
Hello, this is the IRS. Is this Huzzy the Clown?
I'm so fucked.